I love the use of Mickey in this, the little person. I feel like this was one of the in Hollywood little people of this time. Urkelcop hears this and is like, "Whoop, whoop, whoop, whoop," and just like a coat hanger or something.
Well, I talked to him and then blah, blah, blah. And then after they asked me this, I was like, and then after that, I was like,
Shut up!
Happened in the 90s.
We've talked about ad nauseum how great season 2 of Martin is, and how it's one of the best seasons in television, in sitcom history
Ever.
We are on the timeline of possibly the greatest Seinfeld season, in my opinion. I feel like the only thing that's missing for me is the soup Nazi. I believe we covered that last year, and so I think that was the season prior to this one that we're going to cover. But man, it's got some hitters. Like, it starts the season off with George's fiance passing away. It was that whole angle from the previous season, and I mean, we've covered the little kicks. The little kicks, man. The Elaine dance, that's in there. Bizarro Jerry.
Dude, I mean, the yada 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 thing, that became like lexicon. That's like a pop culture thing. I knew about this. I might have seen this episode that we're going to talk about, but yeah, dude, I agree. This, what is this, season 8?
Season 8, man.
How many seasons did they get ultimately? 13?
This is the penultimate. No, man. I think they went 9. I do believe
damn, you're right. I mean, it's kind of unusual. Well, I don't know if it's unusual, but like for Martin, it kind of got great in the middle and tapered off at the end. And this, I mean, it's like a steady climb up in quality, I feel like.
Well, I think a big part of that, everyone got along with Seinfeld.
True. I mean, there was behind the scenes things with Martin with that kind of caused that, but
yeah, Martin kind of shot himself in the foot. Like, it should have went longer, man.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think it could have gone as long as, a Seinfeld for sure if they could have just kept it together, because I mean, that would have been so cool if you had that much Martin to go off of. It does suck, but this, I got to agree. I mean, all the ones that we've seen this year, like I'm not the biggest Seinfeld fan, but the ones that we've been watching are making me a huge Seinfeld fan. And it's a credit to them. If you're trying to keep track of all like the little details in these episodes, it's a motherfucker to try to do, because they're calling back to other episodes. They're calling back to little things in this episode. It's a hell of a show, man.
Yeah, man. And can't forget about The English Patient, the one we covered about a month ago.
Yeah. I hate that movie. Yeah, dude. Also, I love the use of Mickey in this, the little person. I feel like this was one of the in Hollywood little people of this time.
Yeah. Wait, it's him and Willow, the guy who played Leprechaun.
That's it. That's all you got. There was one other guy that I don't think is Mickey that was in like horror movies and stuff. I don't think it's this guy, but he had kind of the same vibe of like a little white guy with like, he had like greasy long hair and stuff though. And I don't think this is the same dude.
Oh, can't forget about old guy from Game of Thrones too, but he was on the rise. He hadn't.
Yeah, he hadn't popped off. He had to get these guys waddled so he could run. You know what I'm saying, Steve? We love you. Alabama. Hell yeah, dude.
Oh, my shins. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Primus posters and your Dennis Rodman jerseys, because Laura's a douchebag. She's the biggest bitch of the family. Laura's a douchebag. The sis of Eddie, the sis of Judy, the big cousin of Richie. Laura's a douchebag. She's the biggest bitch of the family.
Hell yeah, dude. Also, yeah, Laura, I'm gonna go on record here, Steve. We don't need her anymore. We don't need this character anymore. She's gone. Steve should have been like, bye, and just kicked her to the curb, and then we don't have to see her again.
Oh, they should have gave her the Sister Judy treatment.
Yep. Hit the bricks, sis.
Today, my friend, we're talking all things April 24th in the 90s. Starting off in 1992, Family Matters is airing Season 3, Episode 23, Robo-Nerd 2. A reprogrammed Urkelbot is sent to fight crime and proves to be instrumental in foiling a serial convenience store robber. Meanwhile, the women find out, to their horror, that a new shampoo has caused them to go bald.
Lawsuit. I don't like Urkel's just, and we've seen these machines that this guy's making in private. He's got too much power, Steve. I don't know where you get all of the hardware to make these robots and these machines. If he's like going to Russia, he's doing the black market shit, but we got a bigger problem on our hand than a guy robbing convenience stores, because there's a little nerd in Chicago that's building possibly war technology, Steve, if I'm looking at this correctly.
He did create an atomic bomb, but that episode, it was all a dream.
Didn't he create a time machine too?
He created a time machine. He
created a cool machine so he could just get sniz at will.
He was a pirate. He was Bruce Lee, Albert Einstein, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, so I don't like that. But right now, at the beginning of this episode, it's just Waldo and Eddie. You know, they're getting ready for a show. Eddie's obviously the ladies' man of this group. Waldo's just kind of the guy hanging out. But he's worried. They got these tickets to this rap concert, Steve. This little rap show. 9 rappers, 9 artists. But they're close to the speaker. And he's like, man, these fly honeys ain't going to be able to hear us, man. But Waldo's got something for that, Steve.
Goes Jimmy Hart with it.
Shit. He's got the bullhorn. And he's not as smooth as Eddie, but he does have one line that he's ready to go with when they get to the show, which is, hey, babe, looking good. Are those real? And hey, I feel like at a show, you actually might get something off that, Steve. Somebody's going to be like, you're cute. You're crazy.
Hey, man, you miss all the shots you don't take.
That's true.
And cue that classic theme song.
And again, my wife made it. I agree. I don't think Carl Winslow is going on voluntary bike rides with the family, including Grandma.
Harriet put him up to it. Oh, Kyle.
Get out there, Kyle. Your ass getting fat.
I promise you I'll tickle your taint after.
I like a sweaty taint, Kyle.
Oh, Kyle.
Oh, God.
Taste my titties.
Titty. These big old banana titties. But after the intro, we come back to the Winslow residence, and a guy who we just saw in a recent episode we talked about, Lieutenant Murtaugh, one of Carl's, I think is his boss, comes in with Carl. Murtaugh's a little pissed. He's one of these elder statesman guys. He's like, look, man, some younger guy named Pierce got the captain gig over me, and I don't get it. Like, I kissed the same ass this guy does.
You're as good as him, sir. Nobody kisses ass like you.
You kiss the best ass, sir. I mean, Carl Winslow is going to be a great politician someday, but he's just trying to give his boss a little props. And then Steve comes in. He's trying to fix Urkelbot is basically what he's talking about, because we didn't see it, but in a previous episode, the Urkelbot that he created fell in love with Laura, I believe, and it caused a lot of shenanigans. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to fix it. He figured out what happened, and he's trying to tinker with it. But the robot hit him, Steve.
Yeah. And then after that, it finally hit him.
And
the idea.
I thought you fixed the robot. He's like, no, the fucking idea, dummy.
Yeah. And he realizes that this robot needs a job.
Yeah. Not a servant robot, Steve, or like a little butler, which is kind of where I would want to go with a robot. Just somebody to go like do the boring shit for you. Almost like a clone type situation. But Urkel was like, you know what? I watch Robocop. I think Urkelbot would make a great cop. And, Carl you can see a little hesitation on him, but Murtaugh's like, tell me more about this robot that could be a cop. And as Steve kind of details this out, Murtaugh's like, you know what? I love this idea because this is going to catapult me to that promotion that I got looked over for. You know, he's all about himself, Steve. He's like a real Wall Street cop. He's like, I just got to climb the ladder to success.
You might get that promotion. And then later, we cut to the kitchen, and the Winslow women and Rachel, they're in there just talking. And then Laura comes in there, and she has this idea, this grand idea to make some real money. She's going to be a distributor for Lauren Niece Cosmetics, but she only needs $400. And she asks each of the ladies to chip in 100. She already has 100 to cover it.
Yeah. Rachel and Harriet, I mean, obviously Harriet's a wet blanket. She's like, ah, hell no. And they're like, why would we're not giving you money? But then this is why I love grandmas, Steve. This is how my grandma was. She's like, oh no, I love this idea. She's all about the grandkids. She's like, you know what? This is actually a great sign. Like, why are you guys so hesitant to give her a little bit of money? Like, let's invest in her, get her like a little push because she's showing some initiative, and I love that. You know, and the Rachel and Harriet are like, yeah, you're actually right. Let's do this. We're gonna make this investment. So they start writing a check to Laura, and I do love grandma's like, I'm a little light on the account, so if you could just throw my hundo in, I'll give you an IOU, okay, ladies?
Yeah, Mother Winslow, man, she's on a fixed income.
But I mean, now Laura has a business, Steve. She's a businesswoman. This sounds like a pyramid scheme to me. This sounds like something where you're selling juices or teas, and you're getting people. But it's like what do they call it? A mid-level marketing, whatever. It's a pyramid.
Entry level, mid level, yeah, all of that, man, or some prepaid legal advice.
Yeah. So, but Laura's on her way to being an entrepreneur, Steve, with a little help from her family, which is that's what it's all about. That's great. So then we cut to later. Steve is ready to unveil Urkelcop now, Steve. You know, this isn't just Urkelbot. This is an upgrade.
It's no ordinary robot.
I mean, it is not. I'd be terrified if this thing was coming at me. But Murtaugh and Carl are here. This is a momentous occasion, and Steve wants to give like a speech. I mean, he's changing history here, but Carl's like, shut up. Like, just like, stop that. And he pulls the sheet off of this thing and unveils Urkelcop, Steven. Is it Robocop? No, but it's pretty impressive. Like I said, I don't know where he's getting all this, but he makes himself a good robot.
He even has a badge for it. And it does impressions. It does a little Arnold, Hasta La Vista, baby. Does some Clint Eastwood, some Kojak, some Dragnet. And Murtaugh asks, like, so what happens in case a cop is in an emergency situation? Call for backup.
Yeah, it knows, Steve. If it was real, it'd be like, shoot them, you know, immediately kill them if they're not white. They're like, wait, whoa, what is this? What book did you teach him? This is the Irish cop manual. I don't know what to tell you.
And Murtaugh tells Winslow, say hello to your new partner. If you can catch this guy that did 19 robberies, I'll get that promotion.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, here's this impossible task. Now you're partnered up with this killer robot. Fix this. And even Carl's like, I don't know about this, man. Like, it might know some crazy racist like shit that we told it, but what happens when we gotta pull the gun out or like get into it? And Urkelcop hears this and is like, and just yats like a coat hanger or something, just completely annihilates that. And now he's like, you know what? Shit, it's hard to pedal that bike. If this thing could take down these perps, I'm all about that. So,
and then a karate chops a nightstand. Like, he overlooks the fact that this robot just destroyed his furniture. Like, oh yeah, this works for me.
I'd be like, what if this thing turns on me though? And then Urkel's like, I haven't thought of that yet, Carl. You know, there's some things we might want to, but it's like Robocop. Steve, even Robocop had a couple of bugs. You know,
who's gonna buy this coat hanger? That shit was $20 at Big Lot.
You know what Harriet's gonna do to me? And Harriet might be able to tangle with this thing, Steve, to be honest. She's a brolic ass chick. So she might be able to take down Urkelcop, but at this moment, this is where we're at, you know.
She ain't gonna give me no banana titties for 2 weeks.
And then later, after we see that happen, The ladies are coming home, all of them. They're all hanging out this episode. And as they're coming in, Laura notices, oh, the cosmetics got here. This big box of cosmetics got here. And I get it. You get excited. There's a big box of shit that you get delivered. It's stuff that you might want to use. I get that. Everyone's like, ooh, we're going to try all this. It's like, I'd be like, hey, guys, don't get high on the own supply here, all right?
Yeah, you're supposed to distribute it.
Sell this, but everyone takes a bottle. Everyone goes to bed with some stuff. And, it is what it is, Steve. Should be selling it, but they wanted to wash their hair because that's gonna make it. What do you think's gonna happen, ladies? You just want to smell it. But later, next morning, actually, Steve, after they do a little testing, Laura comes down just looking like freaking Telly Savalas, Steve. She's bald. She's chromed out. There's nothing there.
Looking like MJ.
God damn!
That's crazy looking. Grandma comes out, and then Harriet comes down. She looks even crazier. Hilarious. She looks nuts. Everyone's like coming out bald. Rachel comes down finally. She's like, shit, I look fine. She pulls off her thing. She's bald, Steve.
Her whole shit falls off.
I mean, it's one big piece. Keep that.
Yeah, Jane too. Can't wait to see that one.
And Carl comes down because he hears a ruckus, and he's like, "Oh, hey, sir." He's like, "Hey, nice to see." Ah! And then it's a whole comedy of errors. He's like, "Oh, look at the bright side, ladies. You guys could all be backup singers for Sinead O'Connor." He's like trying to make light of it. They got had, Steve. Laura tries to call the cosmetics company. The number doesn't work. It's like boiler room, Steve. There's just some guy mixing up chemicals and giving them to ladies to sell and just getting out of town.
They've been had. If something is too good to be true, then it probably is. That's what Carl said.
Yeah.
And Eddie, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm in the mood for some melon. They do that slow chase.
Eddie! Yeah, dude. And now, Steve, it's time to get kind of serious because now we're on the hunt for this criminal. We go to a mini mart. We see Urkelbot just like hiding in plain sight he's just like displaying some soda.
He's supposed to be like a promotional item.
Yeah, and Carl's playing the part of the owner of the establishment, who I guess is Indian, because Carl turns around and is like, "Oh, hello, come again, hello there." I mean, it gets even Kendra's like, "God damn, like this ain't right, Carl."
The appropriation is real in this one, man. That's the darkest Indian I've seen.
I mean, like, what part of India are you from, man?
Yeah.
I am from Harlem, India. They're like fixing stuff. I guess Urkel's like kind of checking out what's going on. So he comes in. He's like, "Oh, yeah, everything's going." And Carl's kind of fed up because he's like, "This seems stupid. Like, why were we even here? This is a 1 in a million shot or whatever." Give some like statistic. And Urkelbot's like, "Actually, it's 1 in 3." Because he analyzed the patterns of the crime, triangulated these places, and figured these are the next ones to get hit. So Urkelbot, he's also a detective, Steve. It goes deeper and deeper. This is a very Terminator situation that we're getting into.
He's all of them combined.
He's everything. I mean, right now it's pretty nice. He seems to be playing on the right side, but if Urkel gets pissed off and flips a switch, I don't know. I don't feel like we can tangle with this, but as Urkel's making his presence known and they're kind of having this conversation, it's kind of like greasy looking dude comes. Something's up. He's looking weird. He's looking too hard at like some Reese's. And then he holds up the place. I mean, Urkelbot, he's right on, Steve. He's 1 for 1 at this point. This guy's nailing it.
It looks like he has to register his address.
He does, definitely. He's on a list of some kind. As he's robbing it, Steve's like, "Oh my God." And Carl's doing his best to stall. Urkelbot's playing red light, green light with the robber. So like every time the guy looks behind him, he's like, but he's a little closer. Then he's like, the robber turns around, sees what he's got, unloads. I mean, this guy is a Chicago criminal, Steve. He does not care. He unloads on Urkelcop, and Urkelcop catches bullets, Steve. Not with his teeth. He's just like, bink,
Yeah.
bink, bink, bink. These are yours. And just drops the bullets. That's pretty badass.
Catches bullets with his hands. Robot, please.
You've got the glow. Urkelbot's the shit, Steve. I mean, he even
I
says
want one.
hasta la vista, baby, like lifts the criminal up. It's very cinematic. It's very badass. And he saves the day. He actually throws the guy through like a tower of Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
They handcuff the guy to a shelf or something. Crime solved. They did it.
I noticed some duct tape on those Captain Crunch boxes. Like, what are you covering? It's clear, like, what the box. We know who that is. It says Captain Crunch. So
It's
what's
just
the duct tape?
Crunch, Steve. It's duct tape Crunch. Okay, it's not the same thing. They can't sue.
You see the Captain Crunch.
The captain is very litigious. Okay, so they got to hide something so they don't get sued. But it's wild, Steve. If I was the cop guy, if I'm Murtaugh, nobody knows about this. I'm saying, Steve, I want you to secretly mass produce me an army of these things, and then I'd become like Kingpin in Spider-Man, or in Spider-Man in any Marvel stuff. I'd just be an evil cop. I'd be like this dude with an army of robots. But that's not where this goes, Steve. Urkelcop saves the day. We cut to the next day in the house, and the ladies, were chromed out last night. They're freshly wigged now. They went to the wig place.
They went to the gas station.
I mean, it's pretty. They went to CVS and got whatever they had. Rachel looks like Tina Turner. Laura looks crazy. They all look wild.
Tina Burner.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Urkel comes in and he wants to talk about Urkelbot, but instead of saying how this thing is going to become the next greatest cop, he announces that Urkelbot's retiring. This is it. He's one and done, Steve. He actually also announces that he created a female bot to be sort of a companion to Urkelbot.
A companion.
Even Eddie has the immediate concern that I have when he says that. He's like, man, you telling me you made a woman robot? I'm like, this kid's fucking this thing in the basement. Seriously, this is not right.
Yeah, he's tagging that.
Yeah, and I second that because when we see it, because they go in to see it, it's not like just a standard robot. It's Lorabot, Steve. He's making his avatars. He wants to watch it. He wants to see how it's going to go when he actually starts bumping uglies.
They go into the living room, Lorabot, Urkelbot, and they start up. You ready to dance, Urkelbot? Let's get down with our bad selves.
Yeah. Too cold, Scorpio. So yeah, Steve can create killer robots or dancing robots, really kind of a whatever you want. I gotta just give a shout out because we were talking to him. Michael Chambers, Steve, played Urkelbot for both episodes that Urkelbot was on the show. Also played a robot in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And as you knew, and as I kind of knew, played Turbo in Breakin', Steve.
He's one of the breaking gods.
Turbo. What was his? Boogaloo Shrimp, Steve?
Boogaloo Shrimp, man.
Michael Chambers. So, great episode. This hasn't jumped the shark yet, and I enjoyed this, Steve. I enjoyed the wackiness. I thought Urkelbot looked pretty cool. I like the Vegas lights that he had. I like the glasses. I like the whole thing. It's pretty cool. You can see it right behind it. It's almost like an Elton John type look.
Yeah.
It kind of got real wacky as we've talked about in the later episodes, but this one, I think it's a nice mix. It's a nice, perfect mix there.
We're in the Family Matters sweet spot. I feel like late season 1 up until like whenever he starts doing the Stefan ish, man, I'm like,
we get a nice little cousin Richie cameo, just real quick, saying a nice one-liner.
Can't get him for false advertising.
That kid, what a scam! But yeah, and also Murtaugh. I enjoy a nice Murtaugh episode that we've seen so far. We've seen 2, and I'm enjoying it. He's a nice scumbag friend.
Incompetent boss. 1994, David Robinson ties the 7th highest total in the NBA with 71 points. I remember this game. I don't remember watching it, but I remember the news when it happened. It's like, damn.
Dude, the Admiral, dude. I was so into him before I was into, like, he was one of my first favorite, like, big men of the NBA. Him and Olajuwon.
He's
And
on my Mount Rushmore of centers for sure.
bodied the fuck up. He was always just like jacked as hell. Like I remember that being like, this guy's just gonna punch somebody like off the like just like marting him out of the arena.
He was in the service on top of being an NBA Hall of Famer, man. Like little to no body fat, just 7-foot chisel. He sprinkled this 71 points with 14 rebounds. You want to know who he had this game against? Give you an easy hint. It's easy. It would have been easy in the 90s to do this to this team.
You seem to have an attitude about it, so I'm gonna guess it was the Cavs, Steve. But no.
I just thought you would get it. It's the Clippers.
Okay, all right. Yeah, but I mean, they were the joke.
They were
I feel like the Nuggets were also that for a while too. You know, when they had the rainbow, like the rainbow logo, that's really cool.
They were until they upset the Sonics that one year, and there's like when they had Mutombo. It was like, okay, they're not pushovers.
I mean, now they're not for sure, but back then, yeah, that's hilarious. 71 points, man. And he was never like the biggest scorer, too. So that's kind of crazy. I don't remember him putting up like gigantic offensive numbers.
He was consistent. You know, I feel like he was an all-around center, man. He didn't just rely on being in the paint. And like no knock against Shaq, like he was a dominant force. Like throw it into Shaq, he's gonna punch out. I like the tall centers who could shoot, like the Olajuwons, the Jokic. And it's like
Duncan possibly, Steve?
Duncan. I don't know if he was a 7-footer, but either I know what you're saying, man. Just a big guy that could shoot. That's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's always what I wanted to be when I was just like a big guy that could just drain because I couldn't run very far. So I was like, I'm just gonna be that outside shooter.
Don't leave them open. On that same day in 94, Ohio State defensive tackle Dan Wilkinson is the first pick by the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL draft. The Ohio State.
I don't remember this name specifically, Steve. I remember I've heard Dan Wilkinson, and is he a Hall of Famer? Like sometimes these guys, they are legendary. It's like Joe Thomas.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Big Daddy was his nickname. Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson, who hailed from Dayton, Ohio, 6'4", 340 pounds. He was a all Big Ten. He was an All American. He didn't make much out of his pro career. He played from 94 to 2006. Actually, I take that back. That's
a decent career, especially for a
pretty decent. That's pretty decent. Yeah. He spent his first like 3 seasons with the Bengals. Then he went to the Redskins for 4, went to the Lions for 2 years, and then the Dolphins for 1 year.
Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson, dude. There you go. Ohio State, played for a great college, lived in a great city, lived where I'm currently living. So maybe does Dan Wilkinson still live in Ohio, Steve? Maybe I'll see him someday. Maybe I can cross paths with Big Daddy.
Columbus is right there next to Dayton, man. But right after Dan Wilkinson, the Colts selected Marshall Faulk.
Oh, it's a good one. I don't really think he did that great with them, though. He was more of a Rams. That's where he really excelled.
The Colts didn't know what they had at that time, man. But the 4th pick, the Patriots select Willie McGinnis. He's a Hall of Famer. San Francisco 49ers select Bryant Young with the 7th pick. Sam Adams with the Seahawks. I don't know if you remember him. The Jets with the 12th pick selected Aaron Glenn. Todd Stussy, I think he was a Pro Bowler. Not sure if he was a Hall of Famer. Minnesota Vikings. Isaac Bruce, the Rams selected him in the 33rd, and he's a Hall of Famer. The Seahawks picked Kevin Mawai, the 36th. That's a Hall of Famer. And my Cowboys got Larry Allen, R.I.P. to that legend, man, with the 46th pick in the 2nd round.
What about the Steelers, Steve? Give me a Steelers pick. Who was the Steelers' first-round draft pick?
Your first picked was a wide receiver, and I looked him up. That guy actually passed away recently.
Oh, dang.
But there was another guy that you guys pick that's more familiar, and that was Gilden.
Yeah, Jason Gilden.
Gilden.
Guy's arms are huge, dude. I just met that guy at a fucking paint store. That guy is huge.
Where'd you meet him at?
He did an autograph signing at a Sherwin-Williams someplace.
In Ohio?
No, this was like near where my grandma lived. I mean, that's all. I wish I, as a kid, talked to him. I just remember being like, "Holy shit!" I was like fucking 9 years old and just, he's immense. Him
Yeah,
and
man.
Joey Porter. I remember seeing Joey Porter in real life and being like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, man.
Guy robot.
In 1997, Seinfeld is airing season 8, episode 19, The Yada Yada. Tim Whatley converts to Judaism. Kramer and Mickey double date. George's girlfriend says yada yada a lot. And Jerry's accused of being an anti-dentite.
I'm an anti-dentite, Steve. I hate that shit. And we start this episode off just looking at Jerry and George taking a piss. You know,
At the urinal.
just having a nice pee. Jerry's trying to just muster up some convo. He starts off with a question about like if you're on a desert island, what are the 5 books you're gonna bring? It's like 5 books.
I gotta read 5 books.
Jesus. And he says, I forget what the whole joke is, but then they stop that, go on to the best Chamberlain, Wilt, Richard, or Neville. I only know one of these people. I don't know who the other 2 are, Steve. And then George is like, wait, taking them to a desert island? Jerry's like, yeah, sure. And I guess George picks Richard, who I guess was played a part in one of the books he was talking about. And then
Three
George,
Musketeers.
yeah, exactly. So there's this whole thing. They leave, or at least Jerry leaves because George is still there. And he's like, man, what's taking so long? And George is like, I got to go see somebody. And then it just cuts.
Yeah, and then we cut to the diner, and George is, I guess this is his new girl for this episode. You should have seen me in the hot tub today. Why is that? Because I was naked.
My junk was looking good. Nice heavy hang. And she's like, oh, George. This lady was in a cool show called Silicon Valley. She's been in a lot of stuff.
She has a familiar face.
She keeps saying yada yada. I think he brings this up to Jerry. And Jerry's like, I think that's great. A chick who's not long winded. Is this like a
Marcy.
unicorn? Yeah, Marcy. She just says yada yada. She fills in a lot of blanks just with that. And I kind of like this at first.
She's very succinct.
And then Tim Whatley comes into the diner, who we've met. It's Bryan Cranston.
Walter White?
He's a Jerry's dentist. He's looking very slim, very 90s cool. And he's like, hey, Jerry, did you hear? I'm a Jew. And Jerry's like, wait, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, man, I just converted. And I guess that's cool because now he has the freedom just to make all these kind of like, I guess if you're Jewish, it's cool. But if you're not, it seems kind of fucked up.
I see what you're doing, Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
And Jerry's just like, welcome aboard. But he's confused about this. So Wally, he says, like, yeah, I went to the gym, but I just sat in the sauna, like a Jewish workout. And already Jerry's like feeling a certain way.
I don't like that. I don't like that. So we cut to Jerry's, and Jerry's kind of still hung up on. He's like, you believe this guy? It's too soon. I mean, he's been a Jewish guy for 2 days. He's already saying all these oven jokes and all this crazy. He's like, it ain't cool, man. Kramer comes in with Mickey, who's our famous little guy. I apologize, I don't know the gentleman's name. Love him. And him and Kramer are both wearing exactly the same shirt. It looks weird. They look like twins. Like
Danny Woodburn.
Yeah. Danny Woodburn. Love this guy. They met these 2 hotties at the Gap buying these shirts. So, there's just a couple of questions. They got to figure out who looks better in the shirt. They're getting ready for this date. It's pretty funny. But Elaine drops like one of these like bombs that she always drops. So she's like, oh, that's great. Like, but who do you decide who gets who? And they're
Right.
like, oh, good point. Where they just like the wheels start turning.
And while Elaine's there, she tells Jerry that she's a reference for a friend of hers for adoption.
Like the chick's name is Beth. I think Beth
yeah.
was the chick from
Will and Grace.
that. Yep.
Deborah Messing. Yeah.
She was Grace. Very hot. And so yeah, that's about to happen too. She's a reference, which I don't know is a great thing, but I guess that's what you need. I've never tried to get a kid adopted, but I guess that makes sense. You got to make sure these people aren't psychos.
And then we cut to George. He's driving Marcy around, and she's telling the story about how she went to the mall and yada yada yada. She got a free facial and a free massage. And then George's parents come up in the conversation, and she asks, were you ever close to your parents? Oh, well, they birthed me and yada, yada, yada.
And right now, George is loving this yada yada. It gets you out of all those embarrassing things,
He's taking a liking to this yada, yada.
He's like, I was confused at first, but then you start seeing it in his face where you're like, yeah, I think this is going to work out. He likes, what's her name, Marcy. She's giving him this new gift of how to get out of some awkwardness. So things are going pretty good for George right now. But on the opposite side of that, Mickey and Kramer's date, shit isn't going good. They got two pretty good looking chicks, which is crazy because these chicks agreed to go out with that little guy and Kramer, who it's like, what kind of fucking standards? What kind of weird shit is going on?
Hey, it's New York, baby.
I guess so. I mean, well, you never know who you can get, but shit's getting confusing. They don't know which girl they want to be. They're on one side of the table, the chicks are on the other. They keep going back and forth. They're competing with facts. You know, Mickey's like, yeah, my dick's 12 inches. And Kramer's like, that's crazy because mine's 30. You know, like, all right, whatever.
I'm a serious actor. I like how Mickey says, you know, I own a tuxedo. Like, what do we do with that information?
Great. You know, and these chicks are just, but they're still there.
They're still there after all of this.
A free meal, Steve.
These hoes desperate.
So that's happening. You know, we don't know where that's going to go. It doesn't look great. So then we cut to Elaine at this adoption meeting, and she's the reference for Beth and Arnie, the couple who's trying to adopt. And she's like, the guy's just kind of like this nerdy dude, and he's like asking her just like, you know, general questions. It's hard to fuck up. And she's like, yeah, you know, they're pretty cool. I'm trying to think, like, what story can I tell? And she's like, oh, that's actually a pretty funny story. One time we were going to this movie Striptease. Have you ever seen it? And the guy's like, no. And she's like, well, it doesn't matter, Striptease. So we're sitting next to each other. I'm saying something to Beth, and Arnie just leans over and is like, will you shut the hell up? Like, really crazy. And at that moment, you can tell that Elaine's like, oh, shit.
They're really great people.
And the adoption guy's like, all right. And you could see him like putting no on like the paper, basically. Cut to the dentist. Jerry's waiting for his dentist, Whatley, to come in. But as he's waiting, for some reason, George is like constantly just like popping in, like, hey, Jerry, what's up? Like, he's ever.
He knew he had an appointment.
I guess you're right. He knows the schedule. So he's sitting there talking. Tim comes in to give the checkup. George is immediately ushered away. And as soon as Tim gets into this checkup, I mean, he's back into the J jokes, Steve. We're getting into a lot of it's not anti-Semitic because he's Jewish, but it's just off color, you know?
Did you hear the one about the rabbi and the pastor's daughter? Hey, assistant, get me a stickle of fluoride.
Stickle? Give me a schmear. Like, so Jerry, again, we cut away from that to Jerry's. He's on 10, Steve. He's like talking to Elaine like, this guy said shtickle, okay? He's saying all this Jew. I don't know if he's trying to like prompt me into a fight or if he's just like one of the bros now, but it's sticking in my craw, you know?
I'm convinced that he converted to Judaism just for the jokes.
Which, I mean, he's a comedian, Steve. Like, he is right. This is his mentality. And he's like, look, man, like, shit. Jerry's like, maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to become whatever, or Catholic whatever, you know, just so I can do this. But as they're talking, Mickey and Kramer come in, and they're arguing. They're going at it. They have no idea who's going to get who still from this double date. And shit's getting heated to the point where he has to get held back, Steve.
Yeah, because Kramer's like, yeah, apparently everyone's your type. What do you mean by that? Well, you've been married 3 times.
Yeah,
like, bro.
Fucking Mickey's just ready to unload, Steve. He's going to hit those shins hard. But Elaine's, again, with this, whatever you want to call it, advice. She's like, guys, shut up. Here's what you do. Don't give these chicks any option. You guys sit on opposite sides of the table. You see what chick wants to sit next to you. You're good to go. And they're like, this chick's a genius. She keeps coming up with these great ideas. So that's happening. That's in the air. Cut to the diner. And George is with Marcy again. He's yada-yadaing his way through the story of his ex-wife dying, Steve.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I was engaged, yada, yada. We got some
invitations.
She licked them, yada, yada. She's gone. And I'm living my life, yada, yada.
I mean, he didn't say she was gone because she asked, like, so what did she do? Yada, yada.
But then Marcy throws a whole big wrench into this yada machine where she's like, yeah, that's crazy. My ex came over to my apartment last night, yada, yada, yada. I am tired as hell this morning. And George's like,
Whoa.
"Ew, what? Can we go back to that second yada? Because what was that?"
Yeah. We cut to Elaine. She's walking outside and she's approached by Beth and Arnie. And they tell her that they got rejected. They can't have a child because apparently Arnie has a violent temper. We're just retracing our steps and asking people what they said about us on our behalf. And well, I told them that you were kind people and Arnie's a movie buff and yada yada yada.
That's it. That's all of it. Elaine's responsible for tearing this couple to shreds, basically, just through a comment. She's sitting there in the street with that. We cut to Whatley again, and Jerry is waiting and sees Whatley making a joke with the minister, Catholic minister, Stephen. He's making Catholic jokes now. Which, it's like, come on, man. You can't live in the same two pools. You can't keep going back and forth here. You're either making Jewish jokes. He doesn't like it, Steve.
Did you hear the one about the Pope, Raquel Welch, and the lifeboat? Whatley.
Fucking guy. At dinner, then, Kramer and Mickey, with this new advice that Elaine gave them, they're trying to show up early. Not early enough, though, because these two girls that they were going to sort of like create this situation to figure out who the girls like kind of use the same thing. They're sitting on opposite sides of the table. So now Kramer and Mickey, they got to make the choice. I mean, it becomes like almost like moving art. They're trying to sit down. They're sort of weaving in and each out of each other like Akeem the African Dream dancing. And they're just trying to kind of vibe with both chicks at the same time. And it just is creating a weirdness, you know?
Which one is Julie? I don't know.
I didn't get a name, man. So they're stuck right now. We don't know where that's gonna go. We know Mickey's gonna blast out one of these chicks' backs at some point. But then we cut back to Jerry's apartment, and every time we cut, the first thing we hear about is this Whatley guy and these off-color jokes. He's like, now this guy's making Catholic jokes. Okay, does this guy have any shame? Does this guy have any morals?
And then we find out Elaine's taking Beth and Arnie to lunch because she feels bad now.
Yeah.
Poor Beth.
I mean, it's something. They might not be able to have a kid, but maybe they'll get a nice tuna melt, at the diner. Cutting back to what Jerry was saying, he did have a funny, like, little joke about that where he's like, he's trying to get total joke immunity. If he gets Polish citizenship, there's no boundaries to this. This guy's telling every bad joke in the book. So Elaine, Jerry, they're having their own situations. George comes in and he tells him about the yada yada that he heard in the diner. And he's like, I don't even know where to go with this. Like, she yada yada. And I think Jerry's like, she yada yada sex? And Elaine's like, yeah, I mean, I yada yada sex. And they're like, what? Their minds blown, Steve. You yada yada sex? Of course.
We cut back to the diner and George is talking to Beth. We find out that her ex went back to Seattle. It's like, yeah, I was coming out of the shower and then yada yada yada. And George has had enough at this point. He's like, look, enough with the yada yadas. Tell me, let's go into detail. What about the free facial, the free massage? Well, okay, so let's start off with I stole a watch. And then after that, I went upstairs at the mall and got a massage and a facial, and I skipped out on the bill.
Yeah, so maybe she should be including those yada yadas because they were glancing over real big red flags, Steve. This chick's into shoplifting. It's crazy. She's like, yeah, and then yada, I went down to the garage, yada yada. This guy's dead. And you're just sitting there like, how many crimes? Is this freaking Scarface?
Now, back to you, George. You told me you were engaged. So what's up with that? And then before he says anything, we cut away to Jerry at a confessional. And he's talking to the father and he tells him about Whatley. He's like, look, I'm convinced that this dentist is converting solely for the jokes. And he tells the priest that, like, I'm a Jewish person, by the way. Oh, that's not a sin. But so does this offend you as a Jewish person? It offends me as a comedian.
And Jerry tells him like the Catholic joke and the guy loves it. You know, he's like, he's like, that's great. That's great stuff. And then I think Jerry tells like a dentist. What is the other joke he tells?
What's the difference between a dentist and a sadist? It's newer magazines.
And the father does not like that. He's like, yeah, that's great. He doesn't get any reaction. He bombs in the confessional. And does George come into the confessional, Steve?
George burst into the confessional.
Yeah, so he's not a great Catholic, Steve. I don't know if Jerry's going to be able to go over to that side, but at least he tried. Cut to Kramer then. He's showing up to one of the chicks. He's decided on one of the
Julie.
chicks, Julie. So he's at her place. She answers the door. We find out Julie's got two little people as parents. She's a normal chick, two little people, and they're just like, hey, and this ain't going to work. He's got a little guy. He can't. They got more in common, Steve.
Yeah, so light bulbs go off in Kramer's head, and like the dad looked familiar. That dad is one of the members of the Lollipop Guild.
No shit.
Goes that far back, yes.
He looked old in the episode. That's crazy, though. Wow. When did they shoot that? How old is that guy in this?
Well, Wizard of Oz came out in 1939, and this episode was 97, I believe. Yeah.
See, wow. Was he? Wow, that's a whole other wormhole. That's crazy. That guy he was in Wizard of Oz. That's hilarious. Cut to the diner, and Arnie, the now not adopting parent, is talking to Elaine about the yada yada that she had explained in the streets. While she's explaining the whole thing, Arnie just tells her to shut up again, basically. And she's like, oh, I don't like that.
Because she's continuing it. She's just like, well, I talked to him and then blah, blah, blah. And then after they asked me this, I was like, and then after that, I was like,
shut up. And then she's like, well, that's actually, you know what? That's why you're not getting a kid. Okay.
That shit
I
right
told
there.
him about the whole theater thing. You telling me to shut up. And the adoption guy, he did not like that. So Arnie says he's pissed, but she's like, you know what? I'm going to go back there. I'm going to cool it off. I'm going to make sure you get a kid. And he's like, okay, don't screw it up this time. And just like brushes out. And she's like, man, I do not like that.
That Arnie, he's a very angry man.
Not a fan of the yelling. Cut to Tim Whatley, DDS's office. And Jerry's in the middle of a very painful procedure, apparently. He's just like, God damn, like, hey, Tim, are you almost done here? Because this is excruciating. And Tim's almost gone psycho at this point where he's like, oh, we're just getting started, Jerry. And he's like touching the tool and stuff.
After all, I'm just a sadist. Father Curtis told me about your little joke. You have no idea what my people have been through. What, Jewish people? No, dentists.
You're an anti-dentite. The dental joke really hurt Tim, Steve. He didn't like that. And as a Jewish man, it just, he's gone through enough. How dare you? Cut to Jerry's. Kramer's on the phone talking to Karen, the other chick, I think. Or is he talking to Julie?
I lost track.
But he's talking to somebody, and basically Jerry's like, wait, I thought you liked the other chick. He's like, it's not going to work out. She's got little people as parents, so, Mickey's going to have to hit that one. And then they get into this whole conversation that I think is pretty accurate, because I was very surprised about this, how little people can get smang and give birth to a normal-sized person. It seems weird, but it happens.
It happens.
So just a little more for everybody out there. Don't you just, if you're hanging out with a big chick, she might have two little people parents. You just never know. There was actually a movie about this that Matthew McConaughey made. Never got released because it was so crazy. But Gary Oldman played his midget brother, and it's you got to look up the preview. They tried, made it, and was like, "This is too crazy. We cannot make this. We can't release this." So Jerry's outed as the anti-dentite that he is. Obviously, Kramer's off of the little people. Jerry fills Kramer in on the whole situation with Whatley, and Jerry's like being blasé, but he's like, dude, it's dentist. It's like these people, like, what's wrong with these people? And now Kramer's like, well, these people.
You people, see, that's what the problem is right there. They move here to America with big dreams. They have American dreams. Whatley's from Jersey. See, exactly. They come here to be real Americans and they have big dreams. What's next, Jerry? You think they should have their own school? They do have their own school. You are anti-dentite.
You're a rabid anti-dentite, Jerry. So now he's scarlet letters, Steve. Good luck finding a dentist. And then we cut to the adoption agency. Elaine's going back, just a hat in hand, really, to try to get her friend's a kid of some kind. She's like, look, do you got a discount kid? Anything.
Yeah.
Like this, they're fine. Like he just yelled at me. It's fine. And the guy's kind of like ignoring her. He's like, this isn't a fucking Walmart for kids, lady. No.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, buddy, I'm not walking out of here until they have a kid. Okay. I'm willing to do anything. And the guy's like, excuse me? And Elaine's willing to fuck to get these people a kid. And if that's not love, Steve, I don't know what is.
And then we cut to Jerry's place and Beth is there. She tells Jerry, I'm thinking about leaving Arnie.
And
Like,
something we haven't really talked about is through this whole episode, you can see that Jerry likes Beth a lot.
They have a history.
Yeah, they do have a history. So he's like, oh, you know what? He plays the scumbag right here because he's like, forget about Arnie. Forget about that loser. You know, he's nothing. You should just come down and sit in my place for a little bit. Let's get closer. You know, so he steps right in, Steve. It's like, I can get your kid right now.
And Beth's just wondering, like, why would Elaine do that? Because she found out that she went on a lunch with Arnie. And so she's thinking that her and Arnie are having a fling. And that's supposed to be her homegirl. And like, as they're having this conversation, Mickey comes in with Karen. And he's like, Karen and I are getting married.
Come to the wedding. And it's like, all right, they move fast in New York, Steve. You need to pay rent. So if you can double up on that, that's why they get married so quick there.
And Jerry tells Mickey, like, yeah, her marriage is just ending. And Mickey's like, what marriage is that? Her second? Ah, you're a lightweight. Come on, honey.
He just gives her a nice slap on the ass. They got to go to a wedding, Steve. Cut to the church. We're at the wedding. Jerry comes in with Beth, who's newly single. And all these couples are coming in. Elaine's there with the adoption guy.
Yeah.
She's kind of surprised to see Beth. She's like, wait, what are you doing here with Beth? And Jerry's like, oh yeah, she broke up with Arnie or whatever. Which immediately Elaine's like, so I fucked this guy for no reason?
Oh,
Son of
I
a-
think I'm going to be sick. And then George comes in without Marcy. So Jerry asks, like, what happened to her? Well, yeah, she went to go shoe shopping and yada, yada, yada. I'll see her in 6 to 8 months.
She's in the clink. And then Jerry reaches up and taps the father of the bride on the shoulder. And this is a guy, I think this was number 2 in Austin Powers.
That's Robert Wagner, yeah.
And he's like, hey, congratulations. And instead of being happy or whatever, the father of the bride turns around and he's like, actually, it's DDS. I'm a dentist. And I heard about that little joke you had. And if this wasn't my wedding, I'd knock your teeth right out of your mouth. It's like, damn, Robert Wagner. He means it too. And Jerry's like, Jesus Christ, all right.
Dentite bastard.
Beth, who Jerry's with now, is like, what the hell was that about? And Jerry's like, I said this whole day. He explains the whole dental thing. And Beth she's like, oh, Jesus. What do you call a doctor who doesn't pass medical school? A dentist. Jerry loves it. And now he has this new pretty girl. She's making great jokes. What a catch. He laughs and he just says, Dennis, am I right? And she laughs and she's like, who needs them? And they start laughing again. And then she throws in, it was perfect up until now. But then she's like, not to mention the blacks and the Jews, am I right? And he's like, yikes. So now we cut to the credits, Steve. And Jerry comes in, sans Beth at this point. And I think Elaine's like, where's Beth at? And he's like, she actually had to go shave her head. So, she's not coming back.
And the pastor, the whoever, I guess it's a priest or whatever.
It's the father guy. I think that
it's the father.
Yeah, father, whatever his name is.
that's overseeing the wedding, and his mouth is swollen. I guess those wisdoms are hard to get out.
Yeah.
So he can't even do the full speech, the whole spiel. So he eventually says, yada, yada, yada. I pronounce you man and wife.
I like how Mickey and the bride are like, the fuck it. I mean, that's what I would want to have as a wedding guest, Steve.
And as they're walking down the aisle, Karen turns to Kramer and she's like, I really wanted you. Boom, 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 boom,
Damn.
Kramer's just not having it this episode, but shout out to Mickey, Steve. That's how good that little person Dick is. Couple of dates, and she's like, I gotta have it.
That following year, 1998, the big hit premieres. Socially anxious hitman Melvin Smiley, an expert in his lucrative field, goes on a job and falls in love with his kidnapping victim, turning his world upside down. Directed by Shi Kirk Wong, starring Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, Avery Brooks, Bokeem Woodbine, Antonio Sabato Jr., Lane Kazan, Elliot Gould, and Leela Rashan.
Antonio Sabato Jr. Gotta go get some robot cars and kill these people, okay? This movie sucks, Steve. I remember being excited about this because it had like this very sort of cool look to it. It was very like slick looking, fast editing. I remember the preview. Lou Diamond Phillips is cool as hell in this, as he
I
always.
like,
LDP
yeah.
is cool in it. But I just remember walking away from this being like, this movie kind of sucked.
I remember that last scene because I felt like, man, I kind of feel like I've seen this movie, but then the last scene happened, that little shootout fight between Marky Mark and Lou Diamond Phillips. It's like, dude, Matt had this movie. You had this movie.
I had the movie, Steve, for
Yes,
sure.
we watched this together. I remember watching this in the smoking Napoleon room, man.
It's just not good. It's one of those where it's just like everything looks cool. Everything should be there, but it just doesn't end up working out too well. But, we get all these hitters. It's cool to see Lou Diamond Phillips in this kind of role, like just a cool killer. Cool look. He has like the real, just like fucking tightened up like beard game and shit, So we get Bokeem Woodbine too. Who at this point was like sort of new on the scene, so he was always like sort of a real menacing dude in the '90s.
Evil Dave Chappelle is what a lot of people have started calling him.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I like Antonio Sabato Jr. also, honestly. Like he's cool in this, but the movie sucks.
You got to see Kelly Bundy. You didn't see her in too many movie roles in these days, man, or movie roles, period. And then Leela Rashan. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like I said, there's something about whoever the director of photography, the guy who lit this and shot it, made it look badass. But yeah, it just didn't add up well. But shout out, dude. We get a lot of cool people. Even Elliot Gould is in this.
Elliot Gould, yeah. Avery Brooks. I don't know if you remember Spencer for Hire back in the '80s. He was the partner. He would always be like Spencer.
Okay, all right.
He's the suave bald brother.
Who is Avery? Okay.
Avery Brooks was also in American History X. I think he was the teacher. He was Edward Furlong's teacher that like tried to show him different, or like I think because he used to be.
His name was Sweeney, and I don't remember. So he wasn't the main guy that Edward Norton hung out with. He was like, I think he's one of the guys that Edward Norton might have fucked with when he was a racist.
He was a teacher, I think. I think he was working at the school because he used to be Edward Norton's teacher, and then Edward Furlong comes along. He's like, yeah, it was one of those I remember your brother kind of deals.
Sweeney, that makes sense because his name's Sweeney. Yeah, Guy Torry's the guy I always think of when I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, that dude. Yeah.
This is worth a check out if you like Lou Diamond Phillips. It's not one of Marky Mark's best, I'll tell you that. It's definitely one of his where they were trying to figure out what his thing was, and I don't know. It didn't work on this one, but
him being a pushover, it's not a convincing role. He's too Bostonian to be a pushover. But any callbacks, man?
Marky Mark is just going after the robot cars. Let's just try to give you one more shot at this, Steve. You went 1 for 1. I haven't had time to really think of anything to talk about that's hilarious, but you know what's hilarious, Steve? seeing if you can answer these questions. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead random. We've done these, so that's not random. All right. So we did actually. My wife and I did a '90s trivia the other day at a bar, and got slaughtered, Steve. So we need you. We need your powers in this. So I'm just going to test that. We're going to see just how good and powerful your knowledge is. And here we go. Which Shakespeare play was the film 10 Things I Hate About You based on?
King Lear.
The Taming of the Shrew, Steve.
Taming
You might go 0 for 0 on this. I'm sorry. I believe in you, but
Fuck this card.
who killed Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks?
Oh, damn it. No, yeah, that was never really my thing.
It was her father.
Her father. Damn it.
Spoiler alert, but it's okay, Steve. We all have off days. I didn't like Twin Peaks. It freaked me out with the another thing with little people that freaked me out. But like the that's what I didn't like. So sorry. I'm sorry to make a mockery of your trivia knowledge, but you're gonna go 2 for 2 next week. I can feel it.
You're gonna get yours, black boy. Black boy. Wait till tomorrow.
What about
But,
you? Let's hear what you got to say.
all I got, man, is 92. Dinosaurs is airing leader of the pack, and Robbie joins a gang. Not just joins a gang, but he becomes a leader of the gang because of some misinformation. They thought that the gang members thought that Robbie killed their leader, so he becomes the de facto leader. Come to find out that the leader just got smashed one night, and they couldn't find him. He like blacked out, and he comes back, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're alive. So what do we do with this guy now?"
Kill his ass. Robbie, dude. Fucking joining the Crips. I don't like that.
But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
Check out our guy, Ronzilla, on TikTok, Wrestling with Ronzilla. Check out our girl, well, Matt's girl, my home girl, Kendra, on Crushgasm on Wednesdays, and our guy, Clark the Shark, on the podcast. So this is Steve G and Matt G. But
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Oops, winning.